How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this day, September 25th, as the day that the Dodgers clinched the NL West, as usual. How's it going, Matt?
Pretty good. Ready for some playoff baseball next week.
So, we are locker room versus executive suite, where we talk about players' passion versus executives' visions. We want to know who had it right. Is it the players? Is it the front office? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? We're here to discuss about that, and I think today is going to be a day where we talk about the two hottest topics. We talk about Kawhi Leonard's no-show job, which I wish I had that, and we talk about the Micah Parsons trade. So it's going to be, yeah, players' vision, or I'm sorry, players' passion, or executives' vision in the right today, or who's in the right today. So let's start with Kawhi Leonard. That's your boy.
It is my boy. Grew up in the same place. Played for my rival high school. Played against him.
Kawhi's my age
Shout
as
out.
well.
Yep, he is. He was a freshman when I was like either a junior or senior.
Senior, yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah. He stepped the bench as a freshman on varsity, but you could always tell he was going to be good.
Would you believe me if I told you I played against him in high school?
Did you?
No.
I would have believed you, yeah.
The coaches. They like to gatekeep against people at certain heights. That's why he got. That's why our high school coach got in trouble for recruiting, and he was suspended.
Yeah, I get why your high school had to recruit the. They do your high school dirty.
They did me dirty. I don't know what you. And so, okay, let's kind of do a quick recap about the Kawhi Leonard aspiration deal. The whole thing is about salary cap circumvention, and I gotta say, I thought all of this was somewhat legal because I always thought, hey, if you want to come to play LA, right, like the Lakers or the Clippers, and you want to be a rap star, well, there's the record label. If you want to be a movie actor, TV actor, well, there's the studio, right? If you want to be an influencer, there's the agency for that. Like whatever the case may be, like this is why you come here, right? If you want to increase your brand, you come to LA, Hollywood, and just like I would believe the reason why you go to Silicon Valley or Golden State is to make investments in Silicon Valley, find out who is the up and coming, companies that you want to invest in, and struck gold once they make it, right? You become a venture capitalist, which I would like to be. Or you go to New York and Brooklyn, where you can work in Wall Street, make money off of Wall Street, or with Brooklyn's owner, you want to expand your business in Asia, or Miami, no state tax, right? You want to build a fashion brand, why not? And so I always thought that was somewhat legal because like the owners are like introducing you to all the players in the field that you want to go to, right?
Yep.
And yeah, apparently that's not legal at all. Like even so, did you know? Like even like if let's say the Lakers are on the road, right? So the Lakers themselves have to pay for like the hotel rooms for everything, right? Because that's part of the CBA. But let's say LeBron wants the master suite, right? Unless it's in his contract, like the Lakers can't really like, hey, we got to upgrade the room for LeBron. It's like, no, LeBron has to pay that out of his own pocket. Like I always thought, well, it's LeBron, yeah, you do whatever you can to make him happy. But no, that's a salary cap circumvention. Like even for baseball players, like Will Smith, who just signed his new extension, has in his clause that he gets a suite on the road.
Jesse? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's which I wonder now because I used to watch Trevor Bauer's vlogs when he was with the Dodgers, and his room was always nice, right? And so I wonder, was that always under this contract?
I'm sure it was.
And so let's talk about what really happened with that whole thing. So he was getting paid what, $28 million by Aspiration, right? And Aspiration is basically this green carbon company, right, who wants to plant trees, right, try to be saving Earth, and they have endorsed or they have clients like Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert Downey Jr., uh, Drake, right, and the Clippers, and then they also happen to sign Kawhi Leonard. And so,
Did my camera go out, bro? Hold on. Pause it. Did it pause my camera?
yeah, I did.
Not up to his start. Why did it do that? All right, there we go.
Wait, let me. There we go. Okay, I'll redo it. Yeah, so with Kawhi, Aspiration. So Aspiration has all these sponsor or brand or clients, whatever you want to call them, with Drake, Robert Downey Jr., Leonardo DiCaprio, right? And they all get green carbon credits. They get equity in the company, right? And then they got the Clippers, right? So they can get a patch. It was originally supposed to be like a patch deal, right? And then they signed Kawhi Leonard to a $28 million deal, which is pretty crazy for a company that's not like known to do anything, like known for having that much money, right? They're just taking up money, right? And I believe Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert Downey Jr., they were getting paid like in equity, so it wasn't even that much money compared to Kawhi. And so
Makes sense.
the whole idea of Pablo Torre is Steve Ballmer, whether he knew he was getting duped or he was getting duped, the idea was, no, I'm sorry, let me repeat. The idea was he was getting duped, but he knew how to use, or he doesn't know that he was getting duped, but he was using Aspiration to pay Kawhi Leonard, because Kawhi, if you remember, signed an extension which was minimum, like below his market value. We all assume it was because he's been injury prone so much that, yeah, it makes sense for him to take a pay cut. I think Paul George talked about it on his podcast, because Paul's like, hey, I want this much money, and then the Clippers counter, well, Kawhi's getting paid this much. And PG was like, well, shit, if Kawhi Leonard's getting that money, then I can't complain about the best player on the team getting that much money, so I might as well take that money as well, right? Which was good, which was smart of PG, right? And so now it's kind of been unraveling that, no, he took this low money so Aspiration can pay him. It's $28 million.
The back end. Going to hit the salary cap.
Right? And so two things can be true. Steve Ballmer could have been duped, right? And he could have used Aspiration as a salary cap circumvention. I've said this before about Steve Ballmer, especially when he bought the Clippers. I told my Clipper friend at the time in 2014, I said, look, I think Steve Ballmer is a smart man. I think if he was running the business, it's good for him. Like, he knows his X's and O's, right? How to run an efficient business. But in terms of innovation and all that, that's not his that's not something that you want him to do, right? You want him to go get the sale, bring in the clients, who knows everything how to run a business efficiently. And I don't think he should have, if he was just paying checks to basketball players, great. Then you have a great owner who has all the money in the world, right? And that's why he signed Jerry West as a consultant, right? So I'm thinking Steve Ballmer is the bank, Jerry West is the basketball guy, and then that's how it works. Great operation. That's how they got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. We all assumed, right? And so I don't know anymore. I think he's an owner that wants to make a big splash in LA, especially with the Lakers there, and he wants to let fans know this is also the Clippers' home. You know, we have the better stadium. He has enough money to buy out, you know, the Lakers Forum. It was owned by the Knicks owner, and he just bought out the whole parking lot and arena and the Forum by himself because he was like, yeah, I got FU money. So why not? Right?
Exactly.
And so I think he's a guy that's willing to do anything and everything. I think you said something about how if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. He's willing to do whatever it takes to win.
When
You know, the way he looks at it is if you know, if I can bring a championship to the Clippers, you know, I'll take the fine, I'll take whatever comes with it. It's not like
whatever
he's gonna
fines
be
he
hurting.
get, it's like chump change for him.
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't matter. So he's willing to roll the dice to take the chance on having a loaded team.
And then you and I worked for, you know, companies before where they tell us go close this client or this account and do whatever it takes, right? Like I know I had to close an account. I had to like talk my ass off. I had to say everything I could help like just to get the deal done. And sometimes I always felt like, man, this is kind of shady, right?
Yep, I've been there. It's an uncomfortable situation for sure.
Right, like it's one of those things where like you know, hey, the customer's not gonna like this, but you still have to do it because your boss is watching you. Right.
Exactly.
I feel like that's what the Clippers are doing. Like, you know, like they can't take all of LA because it's a Lakers town, but they can like have some foundation into it, right? And I think that's what they're doing. Like continue on that
He's
foundation.
building he's building for the future. You know, he's trying to. He knows it's not going to take overnight. You know, Lakers run LA, but if he can take over the next 20 years and get more and more fans, that's why he has all those high school jerseys up in the arena. You know, he's trying to get the kids, the 10, the 12, the 13-year-olds to become Clipper fans.
Which I do think it is working because he bought the Clippers at the right time, right? Lob City was in its prime, and the Lakers were terrible. Clipper tickets were cheap. I went to a lot of Lob City games during that time when I was in college. You know, it was fun watching them. But that doesn't mean I was a Clippers fan. I just showed up because I'm a basketball fan and I could see my favorite players on the opposite side for like $10.
And they get a show from Blake Griffin.
Exactly, right? And so that's the aggression from one side, from the front office, right? Like, yeah, we understand front office wants you to do something aggressive so you can get that deal done. And everything that Pablo Torres has revealed tells me everything that, yes, the Clippers are guilty of cap circumvention. And so you hear, so that's the front office side. So on the player side, it's mostly Uncle Dennis. That's Kawhi Leonard. That's Kawhi Leonard's uncle. And Uncle Dennis, apparently when he spoke to Jeannie Buss or spoke to the Toronto Raptors, he wanted at least access to a private plane, a mansion, guarantee off-court endorsements, so aspiration. And then for the Lakers, he wanted partial ownership of the Lakers. And for the Toronto Raptors, he wanted the partial ownership of the Maple Leafs.
That's so wild to me.
Yeah. Like, apparently, Uncle Dennis, or is it Kawhi Leonard that said, like, well, Magic Johnson got it. How come I can't get it? I'm like, well, Magic Johnson retired, then got it. Also, Magic Johnson was playing his entire career with the Lakers.
Yeah, who's Uncle Dennis? Do no one knows who Uncle Dennis is?
Huh?
I said, yeah, who's Uncle Dennis? You know, like, compared to Magic Johnson.
So apparently with the Clippers, it's pretty much similar. So instead of a private plane, it was a chopper to go from San Diego to LA. But I don't know if he still lives in San Diego, or maybe he just has a a home there, but he also has a home in LA. And yeah, I think it's wild that a player was asking for this, even though he has no loyalty to the team. What'd you say?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's always those guys that it's always wild to me when the players have like their family having it, running their business for them. You know, like Lamar Jackson's mom is his agent. There's like no way in hell that I would have my mom be my agent.
Well,
have someone named Uncle Dennis running things for me.
We'll do another podcast episode about this similar topic, but the topic will be about, or the podcast will be about how athletes get rich, and sometimes it's also due to family members controlling the money.
Yeah.
And so, like I believe Kyrie Irving's mom is his agent as well.
Really? I didn't know that. Kyrie too?
I mean, it makes sense only because the NBA, like how it's structured, you really don't need an agent once you're like that guy, right? If you're like a traveling player, like a journeyman, then yeah, I would suggest you find an agent, right? If you're a role player, find an agent. But if you're a star like LeBron, you don't need an agent. Like the money is already set up for you. Yeah,
exactly.
Because even when you like your rookie deal, like what do you need an agent for? Like you already know what you're getting your first year, your second year, your third year, your fourth year. And if you live up to your expectations, you're gonna get the rookie extension.
I guess basketball makes it a little easier. I would still want to have someone go over the fine print.
I mean, yeah, that would be it. But like, I think like a lot of guys when they have like their parents, it's mostly like in their 30s, like and they're just extending it. So that would make sense for for Kyrie. But Uncle Dennis is not an agent. I think Kawhi still have his agent. I think Uncle Dennis is just like, well, this when he signed that Clippers deal, right? The max contract that was for Kawhi. I think Uncle Dennis was manager. Like, "What's me, huh?"
He's his manager.
Yeah. It's basically like if you ever watched the show Entourage, it's basically the
exactly. He's E compared to Ari.
Yeah. Or in this case, it might be Drama.
Yeah, Drama. Yeah, something like that. One of the best shows of all time.
So, the Clippers have had a mini salary cap circumvention before. So if you remember the DeAndre Jordan emoji gate free agency,
yep.
Well, apparently Ballmer offered DeAndre Jordan a Lexus endorsement worth around $200,000. But the NBA, when the NBA investigated that, they determined that that wasn't like what pulled DeAndre Jordan to the Clippers. But the fact that he got a Lexus endorsement tells you, okay, we got to at least fine you for that. And so
a part of me, I wish the NBA would let that happen. I mean, if they want to offer give them a Lexus deal as an incentive, it should be okay.
I mean, you do see Lexus brands or deals all around like NBA teams.
Yeah, but if like for like other incentives though, like that's the deal with like the team. But if like Lexus wants to offer DeAndre Jordan a contract like that, I mean, why does the NBA care if he's probably using a smaller market and offer that?
No. Apparently, Ballmer like got the deal for him. It wasn't like Lexus went out and like, hey, DeAndre, we would like you to be the face of Lexus in LA.
But yeah, that's what I mean though. You would think that like, what's the big deal with that?
No, but if Lexus went out and said, hey, we would like you to be the face of Lexus, that's fine, that's legal. But if Steve Ballmer or any owner structure a deal like, hey, I want you to give my boy DeAndre some love.
Yeah, I know, but there's a part of me that would think that. So what? If it's more, why does the NBA care?
I guess the whole reason is because like that's a big city market and they can offer that. But what if you're like San
Exactly.
Antonio?
Well, San Antonio can offer them some farm deals. You
Land? I
know,
guess
whatever.
I guess I'll buy
Yeah,
land. Give me
yeah,
land.
like land is the, or Minnesota. Sure, Minnesota has stuff that they can offer, but I see the NBA's point. But you would think that I guess they're what the new commissioner or the commissioner Adam Silver's trying to do. He wants it to be even for everybody.
Exactly.
He's more. We've had 7 new champions in 7 years. We haven't had a back-to-back champion in a long time. He likes it balanced.
Yeah, I mean, well, during David Stern's era, he there was salary cap circumvention. So Joe Smith of the Minnesota T Wolves, when he signed 3 1-year deals for low market value, and so that was the whole point of it was sign cheap for the Minnesota T Wolves now, and then once they have his years, they can give him his bird rights, and that's when they can give him more money.
What year was that again? 1999?
Yeah, and apparently the NBA found out like there was a handwritten paper, like a contract. They found out like a written contract, and so the Wolves lost 3 first-round picks. They were fined $3.5 million. Both Glenn Taylor and general manager Kevin McHale were suspended. I believe so. According to the NBA CBA page 341, the current guidelines include if in the NBA CBA agreement, right, between the league and players, this is for punishment for cap circumvention, $4.5 million fine for a first offense, $5.5 million fine for a second offense, loss of 1 first-round pick, and possible voiding of the circumvented player's contract.
What happens if it happens a third time? Does he have to sell the team?
I mean, did you hear Matt Ishiba of the Suns owner? He's like, I know Ballmer. I trust him. If he says he's innocent, I believe he's innocent. Right? Mark Cuban, Mark Cuban in the beginning of the Pablo Torre dispute, he was like, I'm team Ballmer, and which is funny because have you ever watched the show called Billions?
Yeah.
It's a great show. And Mark Cuban has cameo on that show as Mark Cuban because it's about billionaires, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can see Mark Cuban at times like, hey man, I don't want your money because it's being you're being heavily investigated, and I don't want to be being watched either. Okay? And then there's another episode where he was like, he's having lunch with with the billionaire who wants to buy like the New York Jets, right? He was like, look, listen to me as a guy who tried to buy a baseball team for the past 10 years. I didn't get it because I kept screwing around, right? I kept being too loud. Yeah. If you're going to be loud and you're going to be against the U.S. attorney, they're not going to give it to you.
So, I think I've seen clips with that show before.
Yeah, so basically I'm thinking these billionaires, I'm sure they're defending each other.
Yeah, they have each other's back. It's there's only a certain amount of owners in the NBA.
So we got the executive vision, which is get Kawhi, give him his demands, which was also to go get Paul George, right? Mm-hmm. And then we know the players' side, which was give me my money and then some.
Yep. Exactly.
Which side, which team are you on? The players or the executive? Or were they both wrong? Were they just both wrong?
They're both wrong in a sense, but I mean, if I'm a player and I have an owner offering me $28 million to plant a tree, I'm not going to say no to that.
But
especially when I know I'm going to get in trouble.
All you had to do to not even get in trouble was plant a tree. He didn't do any of that. He didn't do any. He had a no-show clause where if it's against his belief, like at least.
Didn't he plant? I thought he planted one tree though.
No,
didn't he plant one?
He didn't do anything. That's the whole reason why we're at this point. It's because you didn't do anything. If he just even tweeted, He technically did his obligation. He didn't do any of that.
So that's why, if I'm a player and I know I can't get in trouble for it, why would I turn down 28 million?
But technically, if Steve Ballmer was, cap circumventing, all he had to do was Kawhi, just plant a tree, bro. You're good. You don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, I guess, but Kawhi put it. That's why he put it in his contract for a reason. He wasn't looking to go plant a tree.
And now he may lose his money.
Yeah, he has plenty of it. He'll be all right.
I will
They
say,
should check the other players on the Clippers too. They have a stacked team.
well, that's why people are saying, well, we got to check about Harden's deal.
Yeah, dude. Harden looks like he'd be up to something more than Kawhi.
I would say, look, on the business, when you're like, if you really need to do something to get your goals, management is going to push you to go do something. Like, they're going to be aggressive to tell their workers, go get it. We need, like, do you want to be here? Do you want to make money? Do you want to keep your job? You got to do what you got to do. Right? And for the players, look, if all I had to do was just like show up for 1 hour, right, or make a voiceover for an ad, and I get paid $28 million, like, I feel like that's more on Kawhi for not doing the job. All he had to do was do one thing, and then he gets paid.
Yeah, but it wasn't in his contract though, right? That's why he had that in there.
It's against, it's whatever that he doesn't believe in. That's it. So technically, he just doesn't want to. He just want a no-show job. That was it.
You should also know what you're getting yourself into when you sign Kawhi.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Clippers are so desperate.
But from Bomber's point of view, like, he doesn't care. He'll pay the first fine. He'll pay the second fine. It doesn't matter to him. Just bring a championship home.
And the Clippers have the All-Star game this year, so they're saying how Adam Silver might not even make a decision until then. But I will say, what do you think the punishment really should be for Ballmer if he's guilty?
Get fined and lose anywhere from 2 to 3 first-round picks.
I think in this time, I think he might lose 4 picks because it's all about draft picks these days, right?
Yeah.
Because back then, people just traded their picks like it was nothing. Now it's like, no, we're. Hey,
But at the same time, though, like, the NBA is one of the few leagues where, like, does the 27th pick in the draft really mean anything? Like, who cares?
Well,
is that really a punishment?
It will, since Kawhi's contract is voided, so he won't be with the team anymore.
Yeah, but
I will. If Kawhi's gone, all those players, when they want to ask, I'm gonna be traded. Kawhi's not here anymore.
I mean, it's not like he plays a whole lot, anyways.
I would say Ballmer needs to. If I'm Adam Silver, I'm telling Ballmer we're blowing up into it now. You're gonna move to Anaheim, and you're gonna build Anaheim a brand new arena because they deserve it. And you're gonna be home to the Ducks, huh?
It's good to dream.
I'm just saying, I would live 10 minutes away. I don't have to worry about traffic. I can just go to the games. All right.
That would be the dream. Maybe one day.
So let's go to the Micah Parsons deal. You're a Packers fan from that logo behind you right there. Micah Parsons was traded from the Cowboys to Green Bay for 2 first-round picks, defensive tackle Kenny Clark, and Micah Parsons received a 4-year, $188 million. It was record-setting again for someone who's non-QB, but $120 million guaranteed. I'll let you have the floor since you're the football guy and the Packers guy.
When I saw the $120 million guaranteed, I was very surprised, especially coming from the Packers. They don't ever do that, especially since they don't have an owner. They're owned by the fans. I mean, they actually went all in this time, for once. They've done it only twice in history. They went all out for Reggie White in the '90s. It turned into a Super Bowl, and then they went all out for Parsons, which they're also hoping to become a Super Bowl. But it's one of the few trades that I've seen in my life for a superstar that was like even on both sides. You know, the Cowboys, they needed a D tackle. They need players on their defense, so they get 2 first-round picks out of that. You know, the Packers needed a game record on defense, you know. And that's exactly what they got. And, you know, as we see in the first like 3 weeks already, he doesn't have the stats to prove it yet, but the defenses they've led, given up the least amount of points in football these 3 games. It's just an all around game changer. And then Jerry Jones actually got smart for once because he knew that he couldn't afford Dak Prescott, highest paid quarterback, CeeDee Lamb, top 3 paid receiver. He wasn't going to drop the bad for Parsons, you know. You do that in the NFL. It's not like the NBA where you can have 3 good players like the Heat and then just have a bunch of role players. You need good players everywhere. You know, it's 11 men on each side of the east side of the field. So it's one of the few trades that I've seen where it was even on both sides, especially if the Cowboys. There's so much that they can do with those picks. They can take their 2 first-round picks, try and get into like the top 5 now of the draft. They can draft defense. They need corners and secondary and linebackers like nobody's business. You know, they gave up almost 40 points to the Bears last week. Gave up 42 to the Giants, 41 to the Giants. So they need defensive players.
So what's the Cowboys' vision when they decided we're not going to pay Michael Parsons? Was it they had the Eagles in that division? They have the Washington team, right?
And then the Giants.
Are the Giants good this year? Aren't they losing?
Yeah.
They're 0-3, right?
Yeah, they're 0-3. But as you can see, though, they barely beat the Giants. They had to go to overtime, and then Giants always play on top because it's a rivalry game. The whole division always plays each other tough. But the vision for the Cowboys is if they sign Parsons, they're not going to have room for anybody else.
So
they're not going to be able to bring free agents.
So they were ranked almost dead last, 31 out of 32 in the run defense, right? And Kenny Clark, would you say he's a decent run stopper?
Yeah, he has his moments. I mean, he would frustrate me when he would play the Eagles last year twice. You know, he would just let Saquon run right by him. But he's consistent. But there's some games where I think he would be like overhyped sometimes. But I mean, he's perfect for the Cowboys.
So
he's still 28 years old.
He's 29, so he'll be 30 next month or in a few weeks. And so
so he's 29. Okay.
Yeah. So is that a huge factor for his position?
I mean, you have defensive tackles that can play to like 33, 34. It just all depends on how good they take care of themselves. I mean, look at Aaron Donald, one of the best defensive players ever. He retired at like 31, 32. So it just all depends. But then you have players like Calais Campbell that's on the Cardinals. He's 39, plays defensive end too, so, you know, on the D-line. So it just all depends. You know, the NFL, it stands for not for long. So you need, as long as he's producing and productive, you know, he could play another 4 years. But
so let's be honest. I just Googled him. He went to UCLA, so you know he's a damn good player. You just hate it.
Not even. He's even an IE guy. He's from Fontana.
He went to UCLA.
Yeah, he went to UCLA, but he's from Fontana, so he's like right next to Riverside.
So okay, jokes aside, UCLA sucks right now. Okay,
Dude,
so
they fired their coach. We didn't even talk about that, but yeah, Kenny Clark, he did go to UCLA.
Well, we'll talk about UCLA. We'll talk about college football because college football or college basketball is basically pro sports now. So
it is. It definitely is.
So the vision for the Cowboys was, I'm not going to beat the defending champs. We were terrible with Michael Parsons on defense last year. So basically, we're either going to have the same record or we're barely going to be better.
They're not winning a Super Bowl, you know.
That's what the Cowboys are,
Super Bowl.
The Cowboys are championships or bust.
Yeah, I mean, their fans hold them to a certain standard. You know, they're America's team for a reason. They they need players. I mean, you gotta. Sometimes it's a bummer to like reboot, but you know, it's better than paying for players and just being mediocre, and then you know, you have to do the reboot sometimes.
Do you think it's fair for players in Micah's position to? They're still contractually obliged to play, which Micah said he was going to play. It's just he's not going to do the OTAs, do the training camps until he has to, right?
But he just said he wasn't going to play either.
Oh, really?
He said he wanted to play. Yeah, he said he wasn't going to play. So
Even though
when
he's
it comes to
contractually
football,
obliged.
so when it comes to football, I totally get it because it's one of the few sports where it's all about the guaranteed money. Because one play can take your career out. You know,
Agreed.
look at Bo Jackson. You know, basketball, baseball. The chances are you're going to come back. You know, and be the same player. You know, obviously Brandon Roy and stuff in basketball wasn't like the same player, but football is one of those. It's one of those sports where all it takes is one play, and you're never playing football ever again. You know, so I see it. I see it from their view. You know, they want to get the guaranteed money.
Okay.
Um,
So I found something that's similar in their in this type of trade. We had to go back to
Yeah.
2018 with the Khalil Mack trade, right?
Yep.
From the Raiders to
Yep.
the Bears.
mhm.
And I remember, was it Matt? So the Raiders, in their position, they actually didn't have a lot of salary cap, right?
Mhm.
And so
Right.
basically they couldn't really afford Khalil Mack. So they were they were forced to trade him, basically. And
Yeah.
so what Oakland got back in return was 4 picks. The first round, 2019, which happened to be Josh Jacobs. They got the 2019 sixth round. They got the 2020 first round. Cornerback Damon Arnett and 2020 third round wide receiver Byron Edwards. So basically, those last 3 picks didn't really do much. Josh Jacobs, if he played fantasy, he was a stud. If He was also a really good running back for the Raiders while he was healthy. He's also playing for the Packers, which happens to be a coincidence. Um,
Uh,
so here's the thing about
a lot of Raider players go to Packers for some reason.
So in terms of players, passion, executive's vision, this one was, I assume if you're an executive, you want potential. You want, right, especially if your team has been terrible or playing 500, you like the idea of what's next, right? Because that's the only optimism you have since you don't have any good players. So I'm assuming when the Raiders made this deal, 4 picks, it's really good. If we can nail on these picks, right, we can, set the franchise going forward.
Yep.
How would you rate those 4 picks now? In hindsight now that what you know of the Raiders and these picks.
Well, now, I mean,
They did go to
looking
the
back on it,
playoffs. They did go to the playoffs.
yeah. I mean, Khalil was he wasn't same situation. The Raiders needed players. If they would have hit on those picks, let's say that instead of just hitting on Jacobs, if they would have hit on someone else, they would have maybe when they made the playoffs with Derek Carr, it would have been different.
Well,
It would have.
it's not only these 4 picks, it's also their own picks, right? Because they were so terrible.
Yeah.
And
So it just depends. I think the Bears probably made out better with that, especially since the Raiders don't even have any of those players on there. Not Khalil Mack on the Chargers.
but they traded for
But-
him. Yeah, they traded him. So they got something in return.
Khalil wasn't that great on the Bears either. He actually got hurt a few times and stuff like that. But when you have players that are taking up all the salary cap in football, and you're not winning, it's tough to keep those players on your team outside of a quarterback. So like I totally get it where want to rebuild the defense or the offense through picks. It's the ultimate team sport. One player, it's not the NBA where you could have LeBron take the Cavs to the finals. One player isn't going to take your team to the Super Bowl. You need everybody to be good or decent and play within the scheme.
Well,
And on the Packers,
the Raiders did draft the guy who was supposed to be like replacing Khalil Mack, right? Because that was like the future going forward. Was the guy out of Clemson, uh, named Clinton Farrell, Cleveland.
yeah, fairly, yeah.
Uh, they could have drafted Josh Allen, or Josh Hines Allen. They could have drafted
Yeah.
Chris Lindstrom, Brian Burns, Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah. Brian Burns just got his 100th career sack the other day.
They could have gone Debo, AJ
Did he get
Brown.
his 100th career sack?
Yeah,
No, he didn't get his 100th career sack, or like 50 career sacks, I think.
That's
But the Raiders have a problem of trying to be different. They always want to
do too much.
do too much. Like because in the early 70s and 80s when Al Davis was in control, he's actually the one they would he came up with the offense to like throw the ball deep and throw bombs with fast players. So the Raiders always try and do like they don't listen. They go against what other people say. That's why they're the Raiders. They like to do stuff differently, even if it bites them in the butt. They have always been like that since I was a kid. I have a lot of family members that are Raider fans, friends that are Raider fans. It's the same thing every single year.
So if we go back to the Packers Cowboys, do you think this was a win-win? The players got their money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially for a guy who's non-QB, so he's the highest paid non-QB. And Cowboys, you better hope that you draft correctly or you make the correct trades for the future. That way, it's not like the Cowboys are in a terrible position, right? Because their offense is good, so it's not like they have to worry about the offense, right? It's more about the defense.
So their offense is pretty good right now. And two, like it's only a major win for the Packers if they won a Super Bowl. If they don't win a Super Bowl with Parsons, and then then it's like, why did we do this trade? It's Super Bowl or bust these next 5 years. I as a Packers fan, I expect to win one or two Super Bowls. We don't go get a Michael Parsons and sign him to this contract and not win a Super Bowl.
So would you say the Cowboys are a trade away from competing again, or
it depends on what they do with those draft picks. Now they have room to sign free agents too. So if they would have signed Parsons, they would have signed no one in free agency. They would have to sign like minimum deals, veteran deals for players. They weren't. So now that they have money to spend, they hit on these draft picks. Dak's still on his prime as long as he's healthy. They could be back competing next year.
if I'm in the front office, I want those options. I want I want to sign a player. I want to draft a player. Be like, look, we can win, and we can pay them, under their rookie contracts. So that way, we have a lot of flexibility.
Exactly. And you're set on offense. They could use a running back. Their offensive line is good. They could use a running back or a tight end. But if they can get like a couple corners or a safety, they're right back in the swing of things.
So when shouldn't they be focusing on the run defense?
Yeah, they would want to get they definitely need like a linebacker or two. And then for sure, like their corners are so bad. Their corners all have blown knees.
So their entire defense
really
is just
split.
that bad, not just the run defense. It's the entire defense.
Yeah, no, yeah, the entire defense is really bad right now.
All right, so sounds like this was a win-win and not really much to pick. It was like, yeah, both sides got what they wanted. You can't blame them.
And it's going to be one of those trades where we reevaluate it, go back and look at it in like 2 or 3 years, see what the Cowboys did with their picks, and then see where the Packers did with Parsons.
That's how you're
That's when
supposed
we'll
to
really see.
That's how you're supposed to
Yeah.
evaluate those trades, is by once everything is all said and done, how did it work out?
Exactly. So in 5 years we'll be able to look back and see really who won. right now it's pretty even on both sides. Now, if the Cowboys blow those picks, the Packers won 2 Super Bowls, and the Packers end up, winning the trade by far. But it really will come down to who the Cowboys, what they do with those picks, and who they sign in free agency.
I guys, I know Cowboys fans don't want to hear about next year, but I guess if you look at the big picture, you should be excited for the right.
They want Jerry Jones to be out of there. Like they're tired of him playing GM. That might be something too that might happen in the next like few years too.
If Jerry Jones retires, let's say he retires after the season, do you think Cowboy fans is just like, yes, that was better than whatever we have to do in the future?
Yes, I forget who. I think it was Sports Illustrated before the season started. They did a poll on like the most optimistic fans in football. The Cowboys their fans were 28th out of in the NFL for most optimistic. They are not very optimistic right now, and that was before the Parsons trade.
All right. That is. I think we're gonna end it right there. I think both topics about the player side, the front office side. I think that was good. I think those are two good topics. We do have the MLB playoffs coming up next week, so we'll do a podcast this weekend to talk about who we like, who we don't like, the Dodgers, and then we'll talk about the upcoming NBA season. You're wearing the Bulls hat. I think the Bulls are having their media session tomorrow from our recording.
Tomorrow or Monday, I forget.
The Lakers had theirs today. So I will tell you that JJ just got his contract extension. So it turns out, before we leave, I didn't know this. So there have been coaches, that receive extensions, right? So it's not unheard of. But before that extension kicks in, that's when they get fired. So it'll be quite interesting to see if JJ will stick through all his contract years with the Lakers. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about. I want to talk about that podcast about broke athletes because that's something. I think that's something that's really interesting. Even Michael Porter Jr. talked about it. Oh yeah, before we go, it's Cowboys Packers this weekend. What's your parlay? Tell it to the world so when we do this next time, you can talk trash.
Packers -7, under 47.5. Josh Jacobs has scored and Matthew Golden has scored. He played football at the University of Texas. He's our rookie receiver. He hasn't scored yet this year. He's going to want to score in front of his hometown. $25 wins you $500.
So that's what you're going with your parlay?
That's what I'm going with my parlay.
Yeah, you kick in. Screenshot me that. I'll post it on X. And then next time we talk, which after the game's over, and we'll do a podcast, whatever, right? Then I'll let you have your moment, because in this podcast, we're gonna make some predictions, and we're gonna find out who's right, who's wrong, and I don't want to brag, but between us, my prediction's always spot on. I'm the guy who said Nikola Jokic was going to be really good. I'm the guy who said Giannis Antetokounmpo was going to be really good. But I've also said the Knicks.
What about the players that you said?
I've also said the Knicks were going to win a championship just for the hell of it. But yeah, we'll see. What was that?
I said, yeah. What about all the ones that you got wrong? I'm just messing.
I mean, I told you, Yuki is going to be legit for the Bulls. You give him a starting position, and he's going to take you back to the Jordan era. All right? You watch my words. Yang Hansen for the Portland Trailblazers, that's your future right there.
Yeah, we'll see. We're definitely going to see. It's almost NBA time. Can't wait.
Yeah, and I got Peacock, so
no
I
pun
can watch
intended.
it. What was that?
I said it's time to giddy up. No pun intended.
All right. So thank you for watching, guys. Hopefully this was a good listen. And yeah, follow us on social media. I'm on X. So you guys want to debate with me, go ahead. I would love to have that conversation. And until the next time, take care.
Later.